Welcome back.
Welcome back. What is this, episode?
Episode 5
of Endorian Guitar
Endorian
Works.
Guitar Works.
Backstage, not Guitarian.
Not Guitarian Endor Works. Yeah, guys, we have lots to learn about promo videos.
Yes, I do.
A guided look at the life experiences and ways and means of the guitarist journey.
Yes.
Matt Ackerman.
Brian McCoy.
So what do we call this? What do we call this show? I came up with a name because we decided we wanted to get raw and real personal with this episode. And so I said, what? Transitions and the Great Unknown.
The Great Unknown.
The Great Unknown. Yes. Which isn't meant to be a Frozen reference, but, you know, those of you with children, enjoy.
Yeah, that's true. Try to enjoy. God, you know, there's something about that. The music in that movie that just kind of...
The second movie, I think the music was way better on the second movie because they finally, I don't know, they better sound engineers or something. I don't know.
No idea. So...
I'm more of a Moana guy myself, I think.
You know what? I thought that was a pretty good movie, too.
Yeah.
So how's your week been? Or the last couple of weeks?
Man, it's been busy.
Yeah?
It's been busy.
That's what I hear.
Yeah. Well, you know, we're a little transparent on this page.
Yeah,
so.
a little bit.
A little bit.
I myself, you know, it's been a busy and rough couple of weeks, but we're hanging in there. So, you know.
Very cool.
Yeah. We got Scotty Campbell watching right now. Thank you for joining us, Scotty. So yeah, I
think one of the things we want to ask straight up is is this 7 p.m. Even if you're not watching this live, and even if you tune in later, I guess that's even more important. If the Sunday 7 p.m. Pacific time thing isn't working, I don't know. I find it particularly difficult because it's right after you put kids to bed, little kids, and it's your headspace is all screwed.
Welcome, Kevin Seymour. Thank you, sir, for joining.
Let's jump into it.
Today, this last week, especially for you, Matt, has been a very big one. I know that if you follow his Endorian Guitar Works page or his personal page at all, you'll know what we're talking about. But why don't you tell anybody that might be watching now or later that don't know your announcement?
This is a big week. I guess a couple weeks ago, I've been working on this for some time, and I guess I think I saw it coming for a ways, but I wasn't sure until that moment in time where you just know that I decided to take this little side hustle, which I called Endorian Guitar Works, repairing guitars and customizing guitars, which turned into something completely bigger, to take it full time and to stop. You know, as I said to a few people, to start feeding and nurturing it the way it deserved to be.
Right.
Yeah. So I put in my notice, and I am leaving my day job that I've had for a while, and taking a leap of faith and doing this.
Jumping in head first.
Yeah, that's what you have to do sometimes.
Well, you know, I find it to be pretty inspirational to know somebody that's willing to do that. I myself am pretty risk averse, but
right.
I'm trying to learn how not to be, and one of the ways I can do that is by having someone in my life that's taking these risks, and I can talk about all that with and learn for myself where I want to be and when the best time is to jump in head first. I'm curious what the biggest driver behind starting the business in the first place was, and how that then morphed into completely changing your career.
Yeah, well, so the big driver is, so episode 2, I think it was, we talked about finding your purpose, right? Mm-hmm. And that may have actually been part of the driver, right? Because as I mentioned, this started off as a side hustle, and it was actually less of a side hustle as it was a means to really keep my mind right. I thought it was August or September, but it was July of last year when I put the initial thing together and started putting out calls for clients to work on their guitars. But, you know, after working, very good jobs with very good people, but ultimately in a direction that I was not, passionately called for, and working through a pandemic and, watching family members go through health scares and just any number of giant signs in the sky that you wouldn't necessarily you might ignore. I started paying attention to these things and started realizing that that I owed it to myself to really plant, as my coach says, plant my flag and live life according to the standards and passions that define me, right?
Right.
You find yourself looking in the mirror wondering, like, who is this person? Then something's gone wrong, despite your best intentions, right? And so for me, that was it. That's the driver. I wanted to look in the mirror and say, hey, I know that guy. And everything that I do, whether, you know, no matter what part of my life it is, like if it's affecting how I am as a husband, if it's affecting how I am as a father or a friend or a business owner, or just a cog in somebody else's wheel, like, is what I'm doing pushing me in a positive direction?
Right.
And I couldn't say yes anymore, and I just decided to go all in.
Well, that's.
Some might call it crazy. I you know, I've said that it's terrifying. But I've also realized that it isn't any more terrifying than the idea of not doing it.
Right. And I think, I mean, this is kind of a good spot where you could say you're never too old to really follow your dreams and to do something that really can define you and where you can find your purpose, right? Music industry is one of these crazy places where a lot of people plant that flag early on in life. I'm a teenager in a band.
Yeah.
I want to fucking take over the world, you know, and that's
Turn it up to 11 and go.
That's kind of how the industry seems to work. You got all these older guys running record labels, signing these teenagers and making them millionaires right away and all this stuff. And that, you know, great for them. I have so many friends that work in the industry that decided at a young age, this is what I'm going to do, and failure's not an option. I'm going to do it. That, unfortunately, is not always in the cards for everybody. So, you know, we can sometimes take time to find where the direction we want to go in and that we can be definitive in. So, you know, kudos to you for finding that again. I think, I mean, you've been playing guitar for your whole damn life.
I should probably be a little better than
I don't know about that. I think you and I have been playing guitar about the same amount of time, and if we compared each other's play,
No,
it would definitely tip your way.
I've been playing since I was 14, and I'm 40 now.
Yeah.
So there's some. You know, it's funny though that I think that I probably only played guitar for about 2/3 of that, because for a giant chunk of time I got really distracted and basically hung it up on the wall, and I started collecting stringed instruments. You know,
that's true.
Some people had bank accounts, and I had wall accoutrement.
Well, you know, it's all investments, right? Mm-hmm. You were talking about how exciting this could be for you, and I think it's going to be exciting. To be able to strike out on your own and kind of take the bull by its horns, right? But, you know, like you said, it can be scary too. So was that an obstacle for you in making this decision, or?
Yeah, it's totally an obstacle. It was absolutely an obstacle. And, you know, and I don't think that I've seen all the obstacles yet. You know, I think the first thing that stood in my mind, anytime I said, can I do this? Like, I've never worried about, can I make money? I am a resourceful dude, and I know that I can put bread on the table. But we live in this country, and not to, you know, this is going to be a conversation about excuses, but it is going to be it's raw, and there is a conversation about fear here. And we live in a country where you have to have money to break a leg. You know, you have to have a job in order to break something. If you have to have a job to repair yourself. Mm-hmm. And you know, I have 3 wonderful children, and a wonderful wife. And the first thing in my head is, what if one of them gets sick, right?
Right.
And like this whole idea of healthcare. And then I realized that what I was starting to do is, I was really starting to. I didn't realize that what I had done is that I had found something that it was okay to be afraid of, because I could use that as a reason to not do it.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why I am risk averse as well, because I find those reasons to just go with the safe thing.
Yeah. It's like coming from, like, I had to acknowledge that I was coming from a place of of privilege, like I was lucky to have had good healthcare.
Right.
But that isn't something that everybody has. And it's not a reason to stay still.
That's true.
It's a reason, I mean, you should, it's a reason to think, and it's a reason to like, make sure you're not diving into the shallow end.
Right. Right.
But yeah, no, that was probably one of my biggest fears. And like you gotta, it reminded me of being in a place like earlier on in my career where, you were seriously like paycheck to paycheck or worse, and like scrutinizing your expenses, like, and realizing that like it's okay to go back to that place. It's okay to go back to a place where you have to make different choices in order to allow yourself something new in your life, right? Everything you do is a choice. Like, you're going to pay a price. I saw this was great. I saw this on Instagram the other day, that like, no matter what, everything you do in your life and everything you have in your life has a price tag attached to it. It's simply a matter of what you want to pay. Like, if you're over here like having this job that affords you security and safety, it comes with a certain price tag. And that price tag for me was getting up and looking in the mirror each day and wondering, like, where am I? Like, what part of me is left? And, or you can try to, take everything and turn it on its head and shift it over here and say, well, I have to have faith, and I have to have, faith in my ingenuity and my ability to pivot.
Right.
And that has a price as well.
Yes.
So right now it's just a matter of learning my intrapersonal budget, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and part of that has to do with your support system too, right?
Yeah,
you were talking about your amazing wife, and Bethany, who's actually watching right now. Hi, how's it going?
Number one supporter.
Number one supporter for sure.
Actually, Mirabelle, my middle daughter, might argue that she was our number one supporter, but yeah.
She does like to.
She's in bed.
She does like to get behind the kit,
She does.
And so does your son, right?
She does.
They're going to be little rock and roll hellions one of these days. Absolutely. For sure. But you've got a lot of support. I feel like throughout all this.
It was I'm
definitely a supporter. That's why I'm sitting here with you on the show, right?
I appreciate
We've got
that.
some viewers. Anthony, Aunt Dizzle, thanks for joining, brother.
I was really surprised that honestly, like I when I made that announcement online, I expected to see. And this might be me making more like past excuses, but I expected to see more of the, have you thought this through?
Yeah.
And less of the, I'm so glad you've finally done this. Like, that we've been waiting for this.
Yeah,
like
it's
the
weird
like,
how
where
you
were
build
you?
up
Like,
these expectations,
and not
right?
to like, if, you know who you are, but like, and that's not me being ungrateful for your support or me saying you should have said something sooner, because it doesn't matter what you tell somebody.
No.
Like, they have to see it.
No,
You have to measure until you see your own self-worth. It doesn't fucking matter what somebody else sees in you until you see it.
But you're building up this expectation that somebody else is going to give you this negative feedback.
Yeah.
When it's really just negative self-talk.
Yeah.
And when you actually do make that decision and jump in, it seems like there's nothing but overwhelming positivity, especially from the right people in your life.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So was that support and influence on this decision to jump in head first?
Yeah, and it kind of came in waves, and one particular conversation, I had my good friend Paul, who works, he's a music copywriter, and his story is, I fully intend to have him as a guest on this show.
Yeah, he's also a fantastic guitar player, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, he really is. He really is. Actually, he's doing a really cool project right now where he started. We'll get back to this, but I want to shout out for Paul Kobolinski in Fort Wayne, Indiana. What he's kind of doing is going back through like everything that he had written, like even through like the college years, and like remastering it and re-recording it.
Oh yeah.
And like I listened to a track the other day that I heard like 15, 20 years ago, and how it like evolved and matured, and now that it's down, and it's just incredible. But we had a good conversation. He's been kind of writing his own check, and we started at the same place. Actually, even further back than I realized we started, because we met in music school, and turns out we actually went to high school very near each other. We were in like, what do you call it, rival high schools.
Oh.
And we met, like, he was playing a show in one of the dorms, and I walked up to him, and I was like drunk as a skunk, but I could tell that he was playing a Paul Reed Smith, and I think I thought it was a double neck, which it wasn't, which just, you know, goes to how well the parties were at Central. But I went up to him and said, "That's a nice PRS," and we were friends ever since, and we played in a band called Bill and the G Strings, but we both graduated, and I went the way of the corporate dodo, and he went to go work for Guitar Center, and then step after step after step after step, and now he does this really cool copywriting work, and I greatly respect his opinion on many things. And I called him sort of in a personal crisis about a year ago, and he really leveled with me, and he really like shattered my whole idea of thinking. And that's that I approached him and I said, "What am I supposed to do? Like, I have this secure job, I have this safety net, I have everything that I need, except that I hate myself." And I want to pause there too, because I'm very aware that people are watching this show that I've had influence in my life, and I'm still very grateful. It's just that sometimes you meet the right people in the wrong places. Mm-hmm. So I'm not talking about any person. I'm talking about where I am.
Right.
And what do I do? And how do I become something better? How do I get back? I've been making this series, like since I was 17 years old, I've been making a series of like 1% trajectory changes in the wrong direction for the last 20 years of my life. And I've ended up over here as a person, like, look in the mirror. I don't even, who are you? And he says, well, like, first of all, reject this idea that it matters that much. Like, we as people have this idea that we have control. And in fact, we have so little control over anything that we do or anything that happens to us. The only thing we control is how we react to it, right? So you walk out the front door and you get hit by a car, or you break a leg, or you have an unexpected medical expense, or this or that, or this or that. And it happens, it comes into our life, we look at it, we assess the situation, we evaluate, and we pivot, and we do what we need to do. And yet our careers are somewhat different. We say, I have this, this can't change, this can't be different, I have to keep this. This is what defines me, and if I let this go, I'm irresponsible, people will look down on me, they will reject me, they will say that I'm being reckless with the lives of my family.
It's that sacred cow.
When in fact, what really is happening is that you are just making a proactive choice to change a variable in your life. And that conversation stuck with me. Like, I don't mean just like I thought about it every couple days for the rest of the year, but like that was kind of like I woke up and I thought about that, and before I went to bed, I thought about that, and I was like, well, am I going to listen to this? Mm-hmm. And, it's kind of like, you buy a Toyota Camry and you look around, all of a sudden everyone's driving Toyota Camrys. Yeah. And there's a law or a word for that. I don't remember what it is, but where you start realizing that every single business, I'm kind of jumping ahead to starting your own business, but you start realizing as you're like driving downtown so you can go on a date night with your wife, and realizing that every business around you, whether it's a corporate business that started a long time ago, or whether it's a city full of small businesses, like every single one of these is a person who said, I don't fit in somebody else's mold and I have to do this.
Right.
And this idea that it's somehow wrong to change your path midway, it's bullshit.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. You can always change your path.
Yeah. So that was a question about support systems. Mm-hmm. And I think that conversation, that really kind of kicked off like what I realized I needed to look for in support.
Right.
And that's different than looking for confirmation bias, right? Like, you're not looking for people that are just going to tell you it's going to be okay. Truth be told, when I first had this idea that I wanted to do this, I called my dad, because my dad is like, we are very much like, I love my dad, but we are very much like cut from a different cloth, And I figured, like, if I was going to find opposition, I would find it there. And I didn't find it. And I started realizing that I had my shit together. I realized that I was looking down I felt like I was looking down the barrel of a gun, but I had actually done the work. Like for the first time in my life, when I had like this bright shiny star that I wanted to chase, it wasn't just a bright shiny star. It was you know what you're doing. Why the hell are you waiting for permission?
Right. That's a good question. That's a really good question. I want to take a moment to acknowledge, yes, thank you, Anthony, for padding our view stats. Carry the Voice, M. Logan 620, Rhythms, Guitar Olympia have joined us, and so thank you.
Thank you.
Law of Attraction.
Is that what it's called, Matt Logan?
M. Logan, Law of Attraction. You know what? There's a lot involved there. My wife turned me on to this a long time ago, too.
I don't know. That's personal.
No, not like that. But I mean, there is that. There's definitely an attraction there. I love you, honey. But no, the idea, the more you think about something, the more it comes to you.
Yeah.
I think that's... I've been trying to think about being rich for a long time.
Yeah,
and it hasn't worked yet, but it's going to happen. I know it.
I'm about 2 steps away from just like writing it on the board and staring at it every day.
Don't forget, everybody, you can join in the conversation, add some comments and questions if you haven't yet. If you don't feel comfortable, that's cool. If you want to do it later, that's cool.
Yeah.
But do it now. We can try to get you in there. There's a little bit of delay on it. But I do want to point out that Backstage was something that Matt and I had talked about for quite a long time, doing a show of some kind. It
That's right.
originated as a
under
podcast
a different name, and
Right.
We were going to start. It was right around the time that the Office Ladies started.
Yeah.
The Amy Kinsey and I don't know, Jenna Fisher, the 2 gals from The Office, have this freaking podcast on Spotify. Go check it out. It's pretty badass. But I started paying attention to that, and I was like, podcasting sounds fun. And we started pitching this idea, and then lockdown.
Yeah, lockdown happened. We kind of got away from it, and then Matt decided to start Endorian Guitar Works. Yeah. And I mean, we are going to have to talk about the name too, because I love the name.
Well, we have to be very careful about how we talk about the name.
Yeah,
officially the name.
There might be some copyright.
Officially, the name is a slight tweak on the Dorian mode of the major scale.
Yes. And that's as far as we're going to go with that, right?
But we live in the woods.
Yes, he does live in the woods in the middle of nowhere, so it's kind of nice back here. It's beautiful.
Take it as you will.
Yes. So yeah, we had come up with this idea a long time ago of having some kind of a show together, but we didn't flesh it out fully.
Yeah.
We kind of had a different direction. He decided he wanted to start Endorian Guitar Works, do some guitar repair on the side and things like that, and has been doing that over the last almost year now.
Mm-hmm.
And we started talking like, hey, why? I want to do this thing where we build this community. We were going to do a show.
Yeah.
Why don't we do this? So that's kind of why this show even exists right now. This is not the main part of the business, obviously. So what else do you...
I just want to make sure you know... No. We were actually thinking about starting it as a separate part of the... I didn't want to... I had too much going on. Like I said, 3 kids, job, trying to play music, trying to launch a business, side hustle. Let's do a podcast too. I don't want to manage that many brands. I don't want to manage that many Facebook pages and Instagram accounts. And can we just put it under this umbrella? Yeah, sure. Okay, cool. And that was kind of this moment where I realized that... Sorry, is this where you wanted to go with kind of like the other... Are we going towards the other aspects of the business?
Well, I mean...
No, I don't want to go the wrong way.
Go where you're going to go. We will bring it back.
That's when I started realizing that, like... I never expected that repairs were going to, like, put bread on the table, right? It was more of like a personal fulfillment thing. I get to meet people. I get to meet people that might be playing on stage. I get to meet people that might be learning how to play the guitar, but I'm working with musicians, and that brings me great joy. But it's never going to be something like, I'm not going to quit my guitar to install pickups. You know how many pickups you would have to install? So like,
you don't want to do that, bro.
But I was in like, that's where I was like, this is what this business is. It was like, we've got 2 really good. This is also another place where I'm going to formally state we have 2 other music businesses that are like, the big businesses in Olympia, Washington, and they're both awesome. Okay, I'm just going to say that. Like,
yeah,
I've I spend way too much money in both of their stores. And
we
I'm
know,
happy
we know
to do it.
ownership
And
of them.
like,
I mean, like it's.
but the one complaint that I've hear around town is just that, like, sometimes there's a line. There's like, you might need your guitar worked on quicker than anyone can get you in, and that's totally reasonable. So like, I wanted to make sure that I had the relationships around town that really just complemented each other. If you have a third option, and I've actually sent people to those other two businesses too. They come to me for something that I'm not, like, I don't have the expertise in that. Go check out this dude.
Right.
So like, anyway,
That's called integrity.
That's called integrity. Yeah. Well, not modesty, but integrity. But yeah, so when the whole show idea popped on, I started to think, like, outside of the scope of this box of repairs. And then I realized that the passion was, in fact, in education. It was in education and mentorship. And it was like, well, it wasn't, it was in service. And then that was like the idea that I had rejected. I kind of rejected the concept of service from one too many years in, like, as a customer service rep, because that can sort of be damaging.
Right.
But I recognized that my passion was not necessarily in playing guitar, and it wasn't necessarily in fixing guitars, and it wasn't necessarily in giving lessons.
Although all those things are true.
They are true, yes, but it wasn't. The passion was what's wrapping them all together, which is the being in service of musicians, specifically guitar players. How can I help you? If that's working on your guitar, can I do it? I'll do it. If that's, you want to learn how to play guitar, hell yeah, let's sit down. I'm gonna teach you how to play, because I'm in service of you as a musician. Yeah, and once I started thinking that way, like, all of a sudden it made sense. This was no longer an idea that I had to be scared of. Like, why should I quit my job to solder guitars? No, but you should quit your guitar so that you can plant your flag and say, guitarists, come to me. I'm here for you.
Yes. So
yeah,
when it comes to teaching guitar, what exactly are you going to be teaching somebody? Is it going to be? Are you open to having young guitarists that don't know anything, want to learn a little bit of classical and whatever? Are you going to be strictly rock and roll guitar, shredding? Like, what is your?
I will teach at any level. Okay. I will say that I might not be the best choice for, if you're the parent that wants to get your kid involved at 4 years of age. This is probably not me. I'll support and I'll help guide and that sort of thing. I'm also not. Let's talk about what we're not and talk about what we are. I'm going to teach you much more from, like, from a practice standpoint. Like, I am not classically trained. I couldn't say I was classically trained anymore. If you're looking to be Andres Segovia, that's not me. But if you want to sit down, you have a basic understanding of groove, and you want to augment where you're going. That's really where my comfort zone is with teaching. And of course, I'm going to push myself outside of my comfort zone too. I imagine that my style of teaching today is not going to be the same as my style of teaching in 10 years. Because I sure as hell know that the way I teach a lesson now isn't the way I taught 10 years ago. Well, because I have taught before. So.
And your guitar work itself is not going to be the same. I mean, you go check him out at Kiss of Whiskey is his other Instagram page where he has lots of videos of himself playing different tunes that he's learned over the years, and it's phenomenal.
Matt Logan is correcting us. I can't even pronounce that.
Bader Meinhof phenomenon. That's where you once you get something, you start seeing it everywhere.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And who is this that has joined? Jareb Iwan.
I need to do a better job of matching of knowing handles to people.
Yes, handles.
Picture is that big.
There are certain handles of my friends that I don't remember either. Luckily, most of their handles are our old nicknames for each other, so it makes it real easy. But not everybody does that, I guess.
It's all good.
So okay. What else is Endorian Guitar Works offering, or what might we see in the future?
Well, I mean, so you're going to see this apparel brand, which is kind of crazy.
And
Man, I
got me one
totally-
right here too. If you can't see,
I
that.
was way too quick to reject the idea of an apparel brand, and I think it's worth talking about only because, like, it isn't just a guitar shop with a T-shirt, right? That's why I rejected it at first, because I always kind of thought about it as like, you go and spend money at a store, you know, or you go to your favorite bar and you buy their hoodie or their T-shirt. It's because either you're buying a souvenir or because you're going to sport it because you like that business. So I have like some Endorian Guitar Works T-shirts. You know, I'm not wearing like, not this one, but I have other ones that actually just have the logo of the shop in Olympia, Washington. And this is like a very basic approach to an apparel line, like the requisite amount of apparel for a business that has a marketing component, right?
Yeah.
But I was sitting there one day watching a show with my kids, and I had my freaking iPad, and I was just like doodling and realizing, it just kind of hit me while I was messing around in Illustrator that there was an apparel component that spoke to the purpose of the brand, right? Something that is in service of guitar players, and really something that speaks to pushing yourself outside of your own envelope that you've been restricting yourself to. And that's where I came up with Fretless Rock More.
Right.
Yeah, it's punny.
It is punny.
Frets. But really what it's supposed to be saying is like, stop worrying and start doing, right?
Right.
And this is something that, yeah, like I never once thought that I'd be pushing an apparel line. But I truly believe that the apparel line actually speaks to the spirit. Like if I stop installing pickups, I stop teaching guitar lessons, I'm not going to stop getting backstage. Backstage is badass. And there's so much value in this free method of talking to you and sharing our experience. Free and fun.
We're having
right?
a good time. This is feeding our soul here.
But like I am so excited for the day where I take a vacation and I go to some other city and somebody's wearing like a shirt or a hat or a beanie that says Fretless Rock More, not because like $30 came my way, but because that person bought that hat because they understand what it means.
Right.
And it's to level up, step outside your game, push yourself further than you thought you once could do, and you know, just stop worrying. Whether you're worrying about like, will I be successful? What will people think of me? Can I do it? And just start doing. So Fretless, Rock More.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Very much so.
And then backstage. And as we've talked about, like, this is the most fun part.
Yes.
Like we get to sit here and talk to you.
And
about
hopefully
stuff
you
that's
talk
relevant.
back.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you know, we enjoy having the comment threads so that we can read through and we can answer you as quickly as we can during the live segment.
Yeah.
We try to answer you after the fact as well through the Instagram pages. So, you know, don't not send a comment our way. We will.
Don't not send a comment.
Yeah.
Send a comment.
Send us a comment is what I'm trying to say. In as many words.
Trying to say.
All right, Christopher
Okay.
Walken joined us. So there's really one more thing I kind of wanted to
Just one.
tap into officially, and it's this idea of risk.
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier I'm somewhat risk averse myself, and I'm trying to figure out how I can get outside of that bubble and plant my flag. And so this is a really important conversation for me to have right now. You know, risk is involved in every part of our lives, and you know it can influence your decisions that you make, and it can come with changes that occur. So really I wanted to ask you, Matt, if you would talk about the risks and their influence that they've had on this change, any risks that you have taken, and then how are you planning to deal with the risks that are going to come along with making this change?
Okay, well, I'll probably ask you to repeat some of those as we drive through this whole thing.
Oh, for sure.
So I posted on Facebook the other day after it's been an eventful couple weeks, and I would not
say the least.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a long road to a very short statement, which is like, I've been riding motorcycles for 21 years of my life, for more of my life than I haven't been riding motorcycles. And 2 weeks ago, I had the experience that made me stop and say, wow, is this Is this something that you want to be doing? And forgetting like the outcome of that, I'm fine. But you know, it stopped everything like dead in its tracks. And obviously like I've been like, this stuff has been in motion longer than the last 2 weeks, but 2 weeks ago was when I really got to sit there and it really hit me after I was dealing with like the embarrassment and the anger towards myself about how did I let that happen. And I realized that like, while I've been trying to convince myself that I've been making safe choices for the better part of my life, I've really, what that means is I've just been taking the wrong risks.
Yeah, I think that's
and that's not saying that motorcycling is bad, or I mean, that's not saying if you fall off the horse, don't get back on. Like I've wrecked before. This is the first time it really made me stop and take inventory of everything and say, what am I doing?
Right.
And I found myself like 3 days, like I'm still pissed that I wrecked the bike, man. It was a nice bike. But I find myself looking at the opportunity to slide across the freeway, dodging cars. I look at it with gratitude because I walked out of there and realized that I am capable of taking risks and accepting risks, although I didn't see it before. And that while I've been worried about like slow risks, you know, like what happens when you do this and what can happen to my family, I've been like, I always ignored this. Like, well, what if you die on the bike today? And that never stopped me from riding. So why would it stop me from trying to live to the full potential of myself? So I will also say that, and I said this on Facebook as well, is that I had been doing a really good job of finding all the ways that I could trick myself out of believing in myself. And that was that every time I looked at this decision to do this, I was weighing this risk against like this guarantee that nothing will ever go wrong. And that's a load of shit.
To say it bluntly, yeah.
You know, like, I don't know which path we want to go down here. I could talk about, you know, the number, like close family members that are battling health problems. I can talk about the number of close friends and coworkers that I have literally attended their funerals right like a week after they retired. This whole like mindset that you get into the workplace and work towards your golden years, and then you never actually get your golden years. And there's more lessons that you can take from that. But this idea that it's risk versus guarantee is total hogwash. I wouldn't say hogwash because I never get to say hogwash.
It's bullshit.
It's bullshit.
It is total bullshit.
It's always a risk versus a risk, and everything has a price. Mm-hmm. How am I going to use that going forward, man? I don't know. I am going to pivot. I am going to be flexible, and I'm going to try to continue to realize that nothing is permanent, and that everything has a greater purpose.
Right.
So that means that, you know, I probably eat out less, or you know, like what am I? Well, you know, there's a budgetary component. There's a, you know, how does it affect my life on a day-to-day basis? But it is not, you know, the fear of risk is not an excuse. Fear of risk does not equal like fear of trying, right?
Right.
It's not a reason to not try something.
So you always get back up on that stage, right?
Yeah, nothing except for death is so permanent that you can't change.
Right.
At the same time, if you make a big move, don't be looking at failure. Like,
or if you do look at failure, look at it as an option or opportunity to learn, not as a negative, right?
Have an exit strategy, write it down, stick it in a box, and don't think about that box unless you have to.
Yeah. I think that's...
But don't ever, you know, make a big shift in the game and then only be thinking about your exit strategy, because yeah, it's like, as a motorcyclist, if you're looking at the guardrail on that turn while you're leaned over, you're going to go right into the guardrail. So
that's true.
Write down your exit strategy, write down how you can recover. If this goes wrong, I am going to this. You write it down, you put it in a box, and you don't ever fucking look at it again unless you have to. You focus on the goal, and that's to succeed.
And it's success at any cost.
Yeah.
Just about.
Well, just about.
Just about. I mean, it really, that's always seems to be the mindset that you hear. It's
absolutely.
Failure is not an option. And by saying that, you're not saying that failure is negative, because you're going to fail. You're going to have failures. but overall failure is not an option. It has to succeed because that's who you are, that's who you want to be, and that's the direction you want to go.
Yeah, if you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about failing upwards because that's a whole different. That's a whole what would they call that? The Dilbert.
Yeah.
I don't know. Effect. The Dilbert effect, I think is what it's called. So yeah.
Cool, man.
Right on. Well, great. Yeah, I mean, so far this week we've been just talking with Matt about the amazing change that he has made in his life, going full time into Endorian Guitar Works, which includes guitar repair, consultations, lessons, and of course this, which you are watching right now. And of course, I see Crystal Akiyama has joined. Thank you for joining us. We're going to continue doing this as long as we can. What we're doing right here backstage is, of course, just our way of being able to create this community and be able to give back and have this content to be able to discuss what it's like out there in the real world playing music and being a guitarist. But there's so much more to Endorian Guitar Works than just this. So this is a great outlet for us. Continue the conversation. Send us feedback. Let us know what you want to see for future episodes.
Maybe there'll be a future lawsuit with Disney, and then we'll just
skyrocket
go trending all over the fucking place. It doesn't matter what you call us.
No, there's no such thing as bad press in that regard.
We'll just invite George Lucas over and give him lessons.
I would love that. We can find him a Rebel bass.
So next week, if you've been paying attention,
or 2 weeks from now, our next episode, which we haven't really talked about yet, but we've kind of talked about a little bit. But so you've been seeing, I've been blowing up the reels and shit with. I'm sending out swag packs to everyone on my mailing list, which is previous customers, current customers, people who've just said, "Hey, what's going on?" Anyone who just signed up, right? You're all getting free stuff as a thank you. Stuff like this,
and a letter. Well, not stuff like that.
Oh, stuff like...
Yeah, other stuff. It's a surprise.
Stuff like this.
Well, and more.
I can't see.
And more. Somewhere in between the two. And I'm going to send you a letter letting you know a bunch of things. And that letter acts as a ticket. So next, I'm going to send out all those letters this week. And then in 2 weeks, when we have our next show, we're going to be doing the drawing for the person that gets the big swag pack, which is... all the apparel, a bunch of other cool shit, maybe some strings, maybe I'll throw a guitar in. I don't know. There's too many guitars here. Someone has to get something.
Wow, that's a big drawing.
I said maybe. Anyway, and then as far as actual content, my strat has been like making noise. So I'm thinking that we do another tech show and we tear the strat apart. Yeah, we do some dual camera stuff, and you can watch as we do some repairs. But in 4 weeks. 4 weeks. On the 29th. Episode 7, we are going to do our first band interview and actual...
Super excited.
Yeah, super excited. And live show. So we have Los Ocupados, which is a local Washington ska band.
Brand new.
Right? Yeah, brand new. We want to have them in here particularly because they kind of did the impossible. They started a ska band like in the pandemic. And did the rehearsals and did everything, and then they just started playing live shows, and I've watched some of the videos, and they totally kick ass, and I was really inspired by them. So we reached out and we said, "Hey, do you want to be on the show?" Think Saturday Night Live, kind of. So we're gonna bring them in virtually, and we're gonna do some interviews with them, and we are going to let them play a small set and learn more about freaking ska and punk in the Pacific Northwest. Yeah.
Current iterations.
Yeah.
What does that mean nowadays? I grew up listening to this stuff in the 90s, the punk rock and the ska. Is it different? Is it the same? What does it look like nowadays? I don't know.
Yeah.
So
that's 2 weeks.
That's on the 29th. And we're going to be airing a little earlier that day. I think around 3?
I think we're going to go on about 3 p.m., but we'll put a bunch of ads out ahead of time.
Super stoked on that, guys. So, as always, stay with us. We'll keep you informed. Stay tuned. Keep the conversations going. Talk amongst yourselves. Send us comments. Continue to add content to our live feeds. We will try to, as we have tonight, try to answer you as quickly as we can going through the comment threads. Of course, tonight we were kind of doing a lot of talking in regard to Matt and the business, which we're super excited about, and we want to get as much support for it as possible. So that's why tonight exists. So yeah, keep it going, and don't forget, fret less, rock more.
Rock more.
We'll see you in a couple weeks.